Tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Kristen Monroe. I'm 27 years old, and I'm a
27 and a half.
Thank you. And I'm a speech pathologist at the Children's Hospital of Richmond.
Hey, my name is Aaron Monroe, and I'm 26 in 1 month. And I teach 6th grade mathematics, which is why I'm so much fun.
What has influenced what you want in a house?
Take it.
Okay, well, I grew up in a great, great city of Atlanta, Georgia, home of the Atlanta Braves. And in that city, my parents had this nice home in suburbia, red brick, lots of big tall pine trees. You had a riding lawnmower to get around on the grass, and that was a lot of fun. So that's kind of my view of a house, so we'll see what we have here in Richmond.
And I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., like in a suburb about 30 minutes away. And having grown up there my whole life, I kind of got sick of suburbia, all the chain restaurants, and thought it'd be really cool to live in an area that has lots of charm and character. And I've gotten that here in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So, Kristen, tell me a little bit about what Aaron wants.
So, Aaron's a good old Georgia boy.
True.
And he has not stopped talking about how he wants a tree in the yard. And if we've gone to see a house...
Hopefully 2 trees from a hammock.
Yeah, so if we go to a house and it doesn't have a tree in the yard, he's like ready to walk out on it.
And I prefer pine tree, less to rake. Yeah, they're evergreen.
Aaron, what does Kristen want in a house?
Kristen likes that old school squeak when you step on the floorboard. She definitely likes the older houses. Not that I don't, but
like
she
when
likes...
you're walking up the stairs and it's like, eep, eep, eep,
Right?
eep. I want that.
That way I can't sneak up on her. She wants that. She likes to be in the city. She wants to have a walkable neighborhood, which means she can walk around everywhere. Whereas I'm more along the lines of, I got a car, I got a bike. But,
Yeah, you go out to a coffee shop, maybe stop, read a book, have a nice little stroll home after work, that kind of stuff.
Or you could drive home in your car with your trunk.
Whatever.
So tell me a little bit about your wish list.
Okay, so I've been telling you I really want, and Aaron told you, I really want a neighborhood with walkability, and we have fallen in love with this neighborhood.
We have.
Called Church Hill, and it is incredible. It's got tons of that historic charm. About 2 blocks from the house we found, there's this church where Patrick Henry gave his "Give Me Liberty" or "Give Me Death" speech that spurred the American Revolution.
Cool.
And then several blocks from there, you've got Civil War hospitals. And it's just so awesome. And it's an area that's been revitalized recently. And so you've got tons of bars and restaurants and shops popping up all over the neighborhood.
Right, and I like this neighborhood she spoke of called Churchill. But you know what it lacks? Trees. So we're actually also looking at a place called Forest Hill, which has the bungalow-style houses, which gives you that nice, big southern porch that I love to sip ice cold lemonade on, or Dixie champagne, also known as Coca-Cola. And preferably under some tree cover. These houses normally have they have a little bit of the angled roof action, a little bit more roof tile, whereas Kristen's looking more like at the row house style, row house, townhouse.
Yeah, like the Italianate. It's kind of
That's
like
it.
a mix between the Italianate and row house style.
Kind of a big box.
Right, and most of them were built before the 1920s, so they've definitely got that charming character. Whereas he's like, ooh, Forest Hill, trees, I can run there. And I'm like, you can run there from Churchill. I don't see what the problem
It's a
is.
little bit farther of a run. One thing we both agree on that we don't want is we don't want that new build, that new cookie cutter mold, like, oh, here's the house of your dreams, but made in 3 seconds.
Right, like our realtor sent us one that was an imitation of the Italianate row house, but it was built 5 years ago, so I emailed him back. So I emailed him back, and I was like, no thanks.
Yeah, we nixed that one quick.
We also want the original floors in a house, especially in those Churchill houses, you can walk in and tell right away if the floors are original. It really lends to the authenticity and character of the house.
More work for me.
And so if you walk in and see these new floors, it kind of looks like another one of those cookie cutter run-of-the-mill homes.
We want to have at least 3 bed, 2 bath, preferably 2 bath.
At least 1,500 square feet.
Any smaller than that, and I'm like trying to get around like this. You know, the more the better, though.
Yeah, we want to be able to grow into it in a few years. I really like houses that have the exposed brick, and you can get that a lot in these Church Hill homes.
Exposed brick on the inside. I like exposed brick on the outside.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Uh,
Because
and
houses are made of brick.
So what's really cool about these Churchill homes, you walk in and there's this long hallway and foyer, and
walk
then
like this.
there are some open doorways to your left, and that'll be the living room that leads into the dining room and then back onto the kitchen. And those are usually additions because the homes were so small when they were originally built. They've had to add on kitchens to kind of meet the modern day. But what's really neat is most of these houses have managed to maintain the charm of that period.
Well, as you know, I need on our wish list is at least one tree, preferably two, at least one.
Not that he's picky or anything.
And if I could get this is ideal. I would love my trees to be east and west, hammock distance, so I'm always in the shade of my hammock. Also important. That's a super wish list.
Yes. Yeah, and then other outdoor amenities that we would like, shed for
my
storage.
tools. All of the tools, because I'm a man.
And we would also like some porch space. Porch on the front, on the back, on the top and the back.
On the side, on the roof, a little parapet.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to sit in our living room. So hopefully 2 couches in the living room. We don't want to be cramped. We have guests over. We want to have space.
Right.
Is there anything you didn't get in the new house that you wanted?
Yeah, there are no trees. zero trees. So I'm currently looking into how to plant a tree that's already been growing. And I'm thinking, have you ever seen The Lion King with the tree that spreads out really far and provides maximal shade? I think that might be the winner.
Also, I didn't really get a lot of counter space in the house we have now. There's like one little square for food prep, and it's kind of the same thing in this current house. And we also got carpet in one room. The rest is hardwood. But then we got this.
Oh, sorry.
We got this nasty carpet.
It's awful. It's the worst carpet I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's not even like, oh, well, it's okay, carpet, we'll deal with it. It's kind of like, ugh. Ugh. Can we just rip it up?
Right.
It's not good.
Was it difficult finding a house in Churchill?
It was very exciting. Put it that way.
It was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
In Churchill, you had to be ready to go.
Oh,
all the time.
We got a house in Churchill. So long, Forest Hill.
Yeah. So nothing really came up in Forest Hill.
Nothing.
So
And the stuff they did was real small, and the trees were small anyway, so it was worthless.
I won that battle.
Shoot.
So we found a house in Churchill that we loved a couple months ago.
It was nice.
And,
Had a tree.
Yeah. So
Had a backyard. So we put a bid in.
And 7 other people also put a bid in.
Put a bid in. They also liked it, tragically.
Yeah. So that house ended up going for $22,000 over the list price.
Over. More than.
Yep. So that was quite disappointing.
We lost.
So a couple months and maybe like 15 houses later, I'm driving home from work and this listing goes up. And I'm like, ooh, looking through the pictures, like, wow, this looks awesome. Looks like it has everything.
Not much.
Right. So I call Aaron, I'm like, hey, I'm driving, call a realtor, get a time set up. So I'm getting home from work.
I called the realtor during this time.
Called the realtor. I'm getting home from work, and Aaron gets a phone call. From
And my realtor goes, you got your running shoes on? And he was like, can you be there in 10 minutes? So I turned off the stove that was cooking a delicious dinner.
Left the dinner on the stove. We run over to the house, and we have like 20, 30 minutes to look at it. We look at it, and because we've seen so many houses, we're like, yep, this is it.
We love
it. So our realtor talked us through how to get the strongest bid and advised that we set the contract to expire in 3 hours. So we put the bid in, and we set it to expire at 11 p.m. that night.
That way no one else could send an offer in before us. So they had to say, is it worth it or should I wait?
Right. So we sent the bid in, and at 10:58, 2 minutes before the contract expired, they got back to our realtor and told us that we had gotten the house.
We won the house.
So after all that battle, it was totally worth it for this house we have found.
So would you mind showing me your house now and what you like about it, what you don't like about it?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and start with what I like the most because we're standing here.
Kristen likes DIY.
I love DIY.
And that means that I do things for her, then she puts the fabric on it.
I pick what we're going to do, and he does the DIY part. So, I mean, I do some of it. So here's one of my favorite DIY projects in this house. I made this little Roman shade because you have this window, and I'm sure you can tell there are not many curtains that would really fit this window. So I cut up some old curtains from our old home, and made this little Roman shade
I
here.
cut the wood and screwed it into the top there and cut the little dowel rods there to make it go up and down.
Yeah, so he got out the tools.
Yeah.
I did the sewing. Great teamwork. All right.
Extra teamwork. We also made that at one point.
Yeah.
I cut those. They're quadrilaterals.
He cut the wood. I stapled the fabric. They're not quite squares.
They're not squares.
But that's okay.
So we call them quadrilaterals.
Next time.
Okay, where to next?
Let me show you something that most guests in our house don't get to see. Why don't you come follow me? So, right here is what we would call the junk room.
Actually, it's not. She misspoke, and I apologize for that. Let me just correct her real quick. It's called the treasure trove.
The treasure chest.
It's where all of my treasures can belong.
This is where all of Aaron's junk goes that
Treasures.
doesn't fit anywhere else. Treasure, sorry.
Here it is. Here it is.
So you can see, I would love to have more storage and maybe some built-in so that we can store our books somewhere. But anyways, that's enough of that room. You don't need to see any more of that. So go ahead and close that door.
Let's keep that locked.
Yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll show you my favorite and least favorite part. I'll start with my least favorite, and we'll end on a good note. So follow me. Welcome to the kitchen, where I spend the majority of my time because I'm trying to be a house husband. Let me show you what I hate the most. Okay, so we have this stove. It's a glass top. We have this because we have no counter space, and this will act as counter space if it's not working. But you're cooking, so you can never do that. So let me show you what I hate about it. Let me just.
You want me to hold some of this?
Just give me 1 second. Got it. I need all this.
Okay, just slow down.
You got all that? Okay, thanks. Okay, this is my taco pan. I make tacos with this. I place it on here. And taco meat, you've got to stir it, right? Well, when you stir it, the pan moves.
So we'd like a gas oven. You know, maybe get rid of some of that spinning action there. Why don't you show me your favorite part?
My favorite part is the backyard.
All
So
right,
we're going to
let's go.
check that out. This is the backyard. That's my hammock. Let me just get in the shot here. Can you see me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
This is the backyard. I've got my trees, lots of trees. I got my hammock, and I have my garden there where I'm growing food because I'm a farmer as well as a teacher. And this is my favorite part of the house because I just like to come out here and relax and enjoy the sun. Let's go back inside, and we'll tell you why we should be on House Hunters.
All right.
I'll follow you guys.
You just leave it open. Inside.
Yep. Musical chairs.
So why should we, Kristen and Aaron Monroe, be on House Hunters?
Well, kind of like I said before, Church Hill is quite a unique neighborhood,
Very
and I
cool.
think it would leave your viewers with this taste in their mouth for this neighborhood that has lots of character. The next day they'll be thinking about the history that was involved in the neighborhood.
Like who was Patrick Henry?
And maybe
Your kid's going to pass that test.
And it it would maybe inspire them to kind of get to know the history of their neighborhood a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Another reason is that I'm really funny, and we're very pretty.
He thinks he's really funny.
So that would be obviously a win, right? What else?
And then also, we're fairly young home buyers, and I think having younger participants on the show might help other people our age recognize that buying a house is attainable.
Yeah, it's definitely something they can do, and it's fun, and it'll be fun to start out our young lives with a house and not throwing money to my landlord. So we hope you consider us for House Hunters. Thank you for using your time to watch this.
Go Monroes.